What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gridiron segment here at House Call Sports. I am your mod, Sam. That is Joe. That is Justin. That is Gage. Today's video is going to be sponsored by Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats is the most trustworthy and easy to navigate ticketing website. They have reliable and rewarding tickets and a 100% buyer's guarantee, which means your transaction will be safe and secure. You will get full service customer care and be compensated for any canceled events. And it's got the only ticket rewards program around, which means, guys, NBA season is in full swing already. MLB opening days around the corner, and the NHL is approaching the playoffs as well. Go get your tickets and sit vividly now. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Jets have been going a little crazy lately. And obviously, our resident Jets fan is very, very excited. Now, granted, we're all going to be very critical of the Jets regardless, because we hate the Jets here. Mostly me, but that's besides the point. That's besides the point. Gage, I'm going to let you start because the Jets have been making moves. They've signed Tyron Smith. They've signed Mike Williams. They've been making a lot of moves lately. I want to know what your thoughts. How are you feeling as a Jets fan and as a fan in general?
Well, Joe Douglas finally, working that night shift. It seems like this offseason, every deal's coming in after 9 o'clock, working them late hours.
Right.
I think getting John Simpson was huge, underrated move, good value contract, put him at left guard. We're replacing Mekhi Becton and Laken Tomlinson very effectively with Tyron Smith, John Simpson, and adding Morgan Moses for a relatively good pick swap, getting him back after the Ravens, did what the Jets couldn't do and develop an offensive lineman. Our line, if health isn't a factor, on paper looks good. Health being a factor, Mike Williams, we all know his injury history. When he's on the field, he's great. Give a great second option aside from Garrett Wilson. Will Aaron Rodgers play the whole season is really what all hinges on that. Because then our backup's Tyrod Taylor, who also can't stay healthy through a season. So there's injury concerns up and down the roster. And I wouldn't bank on it. Yes, I'm happy they're active and trying to fix the holes. I would like to see what they do in the draft. Maybe add Rome Odunze now that you've worked on the offensive line, but I still wouldn't be mad at a Joe Alt. But it's a far cry from last offseason being like only Aaron Rodgers and then lasting 4 plays.
Definitely, and I completely agree. It's definitely better not on paper, but better in general offseason than last year, where it seems like you got Aaron Rodgers, and now you're starting to really build something aside from that. You guys got a backup QB in Tyrod Taylor as well, which is something you guys should be clamoring for, considering Aaron Rodgers is coming off an Achilles injury. Now, Joe, I would imagine you're going to be a bit of a pessimist here, or maybe I'm wrong and maybe you're optimistic about this. What do you think about the moves recently that the Jets have made?
I mean, it's all about health, and in the NFL and any sport, it's all about health. And I think that they're putting a lot of their chips in one basket with the health of Aaron Rodgers, and that's how it's always going to be, especially when you sign an aging quarterback who's coming off an injury. We've seen other teams do it. We saw the Atlanta Falcons do it with Kirk Cousins. They put a lot of their chips in that basket. He's coming off the same injury as Aaron Rodgers is. And personally, if I have to trust the guy who's going to go see a witch doctor and do some voodoo on his ankle and get it to hold back together, I trust black magic more than I trust, some other medical marvels in the world. But at the same time, I mean, I've seen a mock draft earlier today where the Jets traded with Arizona Cardinals to 4 and got MHJ. I mean, could you imagine having MHJ on that roster with what they've done shoring up the offensive line? I run a mock draft just about every single day, and I like to look at what the first round looks like. Even if the Jets stay pat and they get Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, that's not a bad tackle. I mean, he's considered to be one of the more athletic guys. You got Troy Fontenot, I believe his name is Fontenot, out of Washington. He's another guy. He falls to 16.
The guard out of Oregon State, too.
Yeah, I mean, so you got all kinds of options. Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State, he's listed as a tackle from PFF. He's going top 10 usually, but he's fallen a few times. The Jets are really set up for success here, man, and it's interesting, especially with you think of all the weaknesses the Jets have. Offensive line questions, things like that. Guess what is really deep this year in the draft? Offensive line talent. getting a number 2 or a second wide receiver, to really help out Garrett Wilson and round out that offense. Guess what the draft is really deep in this year? Wide receivers. You really start to think about it, right? And honestly, the Jets are in a perfect situation to maximize their opportunity. They really, really are. And it would not surprise me for them if they were really trying to maximize their opportunity to try to trade out of 13 and trade out of 10 and trade back. That would be my thing. Stockpile a few extra draft picks this year. And honestly, I'm going to say that for just about any team that's already got their quarterback set. Stockpile picks. You talk about, maybe they need a slot guy. Maybe they want to get a really for sure slot guy. Someone put Garrett Wilson on one side, get like a Xavier Legette on the other side. And then you can easily get a Malik Washington around pick 120 to 125. And guess what Malik Washington led the NCAA in last year? Forced missed tackles, yards from the slot, and yak. The dude had more yak yards than just about any of the top 10 wide receivers I was able to do stats on before we got on here, right? He had close to 700 yards in yak. 50% of his yards were after the catch. Okay? And he forced 32 plus missed tackles. Led the NCAA at the wide receiver position and forced missed tackles. Runs a crisp route. He's 5'8", or he's 5'9", 195. That's the only knock about him. He doesn't have a massive wingspan, but he's one of the best separators in the league, runs one of the crispest routes in the league, and he's got soft hands. And if you give him a chance to make a move, he will make the move. It's insane. So the Jets are set up great. I have really no knock on the Jets. It's hard to have a knock on the Jets when you think of what my team's done, which we're running into later. So, yeah, the Jets are in a very, very good position. I know, right? The Jets are in a great position.
I'm actually very anticipated. I'm very anticipatory for that segment, but look, I definitely think the Jets made some good moves for sure, and I'm going to elaborate on that later, and I'm going to elaborate the downside that might happen later as well. But Justin, before I do that, I want to hear your thoughts on what the Jets have done lately and what exactly this means for them coming into the season.
It means they have a whole lot of trust in their training staff, I'll tell you that much, because you really just turned yourselves into the Las Vegas Jets. You are taking the ultimate gamble on a bunch of players that will either become perennial Pro Bowl players when they are all good, but they have a tendency to really get hurt all of the time. And I know Tyron Smith pretty well because of his time on the Cowboys. The man is an all-pro when healthy, but a huge liability because he's always injured. His arm, his shoulder, his back, he's getting up there in age. Mike Williams, same thing. The dude had all the talent in the world. Like perennial wide receiver 1 beast, all of that for Los Angeles. But he just couldn't stay on the field. And that is the problem. Not just with the Jets. This seems to be like a New York, New Jersey thing. I'm starting to call this the fucking MetLife curse. Where if you're on the Jets or you're on the Giants, the biggest thing that fucks up your whole season is injuries. And we saw that with the Jets last year when pretty much their entire offensive line went down in a span of 3 games? So
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, we had I think 13 different offensive line combinations through last season.
So
I wouldn't know what that's like.
So yes, on paper, this is great moves. If this was 2017, this would be an amazing time to be a Jets fan. But this is 2024. These guys are coming off injuries. These guys are getting old. Now they're doing all of this, and Jets fans are going rah rah, like we did some great moves just to finish 3rd in the division again.
Okay then. Wow. All right. I thought I was going to be the pessimist. Here comes Justin. Okay.
Don't worry, Justin. I'll see you in the cellar in New York. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on site. It's
our
on site.
quarterbacks
Look.
are both going to be in the unemployment line after the season.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
that might be the case
my
for Aaron.
quarterbacks will leave halfway through the season and run for office.
Your quarterback might become the vice president of the United States of America. That's going to be
thing in the world to have a quarterback leave in the middle of the season for political office.
You got Broadway Joe and DC Aaron.
DC Rogers,
my
bro.
gosh.
DC Rogers.
That would be a scary sight for the nation, I'll tell you that. But look, I'm leaning more towards Justin here, but I can't stress enough the upside if they do stay healthy. Right, Aaron Rodgers, when he's at 100%, and him having a weapon like Garrett Wilson, a weapon like a Mike Williams, plus whatever other weapon they're going to draft, because I'm assuming they're going to go wide receiver.
You can't sleep on Breece Hall out of the backfield either.
And Breece Hall as well. And look, this Jets team, when healthy, can be a contender. Like, it's not crazy to say that, but that's the entire problem, is that this team is likely not going to stay healthy. And I say likely because Tyron Smith has not played a full season since 2015. So that's 9 years since he's played a full season. That is not normal. That is actually pretty bad. And Mike Williams, I can't remember the time he's played a full season. It's actually ridiculous, but we all know of his big play ability, and Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, him trusting his receivers so often, of course he's going to target Big Mike whenever he needs a big play. So, look, I think the Jets still need to go tackle in the first round. I think you got to go offensive lineman, for the simple fact that you cannot afford Tyron Smith going down and not having an option, because Aaron Rodgers, like a lot of people have been saying, he's 40 years old. And if you just rely on Tyron Smith to remain healthy the entire year, I promise you it's not going to end off well. And in just one play, we saw it last year, in one play, the season was over. Also, I don't like that
the Jets still have the option to get contacted.
No, you say this now, but it's the Jets. So how much you want to bet, and I will put money on this, that the Jets' first round pick is going to be a pass rusher. And they're just going to do the most Jets thing ever.
Would be ridiculous.
I would not be surprised if they went pass rusher. There's a good crop of pass rushers this year. It's a decent crop this year.
They have 4 of them. They don't need any more.
Yeah, but you know what? Like Bryce Huff left. Oh no, they need more depth. Here comes Leia Latu.
Let Jermaine Johnson eat and Quentin Williams. Let it go.
It's like having the new toy. Like, oh my god, I want that one now.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Look, Joe Douglas definitely needs to make the smart decisions, and the smart decision is to go offensive line for a majority of this draft class. Build for your future, not just Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? It's not just about Aaron Rodgers anymore. It's about building for your future. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there long, and I know he wants to play for a very long time, but the reality of the situation is this. He's not going to, okay? He isn't. And I think that's a reality that Jets fans definitely need to understand.
Like to get a second round pick.
We couldn't hear you on that one.
The Jets would get a second round pick, recoup that from the Aaron Rodgers trade, and draft Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets back in here.
Rattler.
I know Joe's big on the Spencer Rattler out here.
Dude, I'm huge on Spencer Rattler.
I would love it if the Jets pick him up in the second round and just trade back and get a offensive tackle or anything in mid first. I would love it.
But the Jets will need common sense in order to do this.
Yeah. I mean, we both struggle with that in our sports teams. So.
Well, I trust my GM to draft. I didn't trust the last one to.
I mean, I will say he did great with Daniel Jones out on that contract you like to bring up. He did great with that. I was looking more into it after you brought it up again.
All right. But Sammy, you were talking about Brandon Ayuk.
To tell fucking Giants fans, like, it's all going to be good.
Got you. All right.
Go ahead.
My bad. We were talking Brandon Ayuk before I timed out. It's okay. I'm going to go right back into it. Brandon Ayuk was in headlines today due to his tweeting at Mike Tomlin talking about I heard Mike Tomlin and me were twins or something like that. It's a very odd tweet. It's a very weird tweet. But given the speculation that he might be traded from the 49ers do want a first-round pick. The Steelers have that first-round pick amongst other teams that have a first-round pick. So my question to the panel, I'm going to start with you, Justin. What team do you think would be the team to trade for Brandon Ayuk?
Oh, shit. To trade for Ayuk? Out of all teams, if they were smart, the Dallas Cowboys would, because they just got rid of Michael Gallup. They actually do need another wide receiver on that offense. Ideally, a wide receiver that can actually play in the middle and get those yards after the catch, which that is exactly what Ayuk can do. And he's a crisp route runner on top of that. So pairing him with CeeDee Lamb in the slot would be an ideal move for them. But going back to that whole Twitter thing with Pittsburgh, let's also say Mike Tomlin literally pulled a Geno Smith and said, yeah, they wrote to me, but I ain't write back because I ain't trying to catch a tampering case like everybody else is apparently.
Nah, man, I don't know, man. It's a weird situation with Brandon Ayuk. I feel like he's in a really nice spot in San Fran. The only problem is that they're gonna have to pay Brock Purdy very soon. They're gonna have to pay Brandon Ayuk a lot very soon as well. And I would assume George Kittle is gonna be due very soon as well. So
it's either they pay Ayuk or they pay Debo.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
doesn't Debo already have a contract?
Debo did get paid though. Was it a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal? I believe.
I think he got paid for a 2-year deal last year. So
and Kittle's coming up after this season.
Yeah, I think Debo's due for another one either at the end of this year or next year. So him and Ayuk are gonna have a rough spot to be in.
I got the perfect trade candidate for you. You ready for this?
If you say the New England Patriots, I swear.
No, it's not the New England Patriots because that'd be stupid. But there is a team who has a quarterback who is essentially going all in, and we just talked about him. You could send the number 13 pick to the freaking 49ers, get Brandon Ayuk, 10 to 49ers, get Brandon Ayuk, and then wouldn't it be crazy if the 49ers used 10 and 31 to move up to say, I don't know, 4 or 5 and get either Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze to replace him?
I don't trust the Niners to move up at all.
Could you imagine?
I don't think that's John Lynch's MO, man.
That's so many moves to be made. I don't think that's just like a thing that's going to happen.
Think about it, right? Like you have a wide receiver who's been rumored to be disgruntled, who's looking for a change of scenery. You can send him someplace that has a quarterback and needs one more wide receiver, and he would pair well with Garrett Wilson. And and the Jets are looking like, hey, we're probably out of reach to get Odunze or Neighbors, who probably aren't going to fall to us. So the Jets could get their wide receiver, who is easily in that conversation with those guys. You know what you're getting in him. You pair him with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but then you have to pay him next year.
You got to, sure. Or this. You think about it, and Aaron Rodgers is he's coming out of the Achilles injury, and you look at it, maybe if you guys can go all in and win a Super Bowl, and he retires, you don't have to pay Ayuk shit. You let him walk, and you're done. And you get your Super Bowl. The Jets fans lose their minds, and the 49ers are like, okay, we have an opening at wide receiver. Well, we have 2 first-round picks, and we're out of the realm of possibilities to get either person. They could move up and get one of these guys. And there are rumors that the Cardinals are possibly looking to stack a little extra capital. They already got two draft picks in this. You're telling me they wouldn't trade 4 to get 10 and fucking 31 and have 3 first-round draft picks in this draft to shore up their roster, which is devoid of talent? You're telling me that the 49 that
would be a good trade partner too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could easily do all this, and the 49ers would get their replacement wide receiver. The Jets would get their second wide receiver they need, and suddenly talent starts to round out for both of them. The 49ers get rid of a guy who doesn't want to be there. The Jets get their second wide receiver to finally, get over the hump and let Aaron Rodgers have everything he needs. There's plenty of talent they can get in the later rounds at tackle. I mean, I've listed so many guys you can get in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round that are solid pass protectors. Javon Foster's going like 174 on average in just about every mock draft, and he was absolutely a beast at the Reese Senior Bowl. Christian Jones out of Texas, he's going in the 4th. You got Matt Gonclaves and all these guys that are going later in the rounds that you can get at tackle to shore up the tackle depth in New Jersey in the Meadowlands for the Jets. It makes sense. If you really think about it, the Jets trading for Brandon Ayuk with number 10, which is what they're asking for, is a first-round draft pick. They get their wide receiver who they wouldn't have gotten of the top 3, and then the 49ers can package their 2 picks to get the replacement wide receiver in a Malik Neighbors.
That's going to happen. That'd have to be draft day. We'd have to see how the first 5 pan.
It would have to be drafted 1,000%. And that kind of move would happen. That's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of moving parts that have to happen.
But I like it
for the Niners and for the Jets. So the Jets would definitely benefit off of it. But I guess another thing is, I know you probably let Brandon Ayuk walk for sure. But I think the Jets aren't looking to like just invest in one Super Bowl and that's it. For just because
your
Aaron
quarterback
Rodgers
says
is there.
everything. Says you are. Your quarterback says you are.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you. But eventually, they're gonna want to like maintain all of this. They're gonna want to look. Garrett Wilson is very soon going to be due for an extension as well. Brandon Ayuk, you're gonna get a
like.
There's also Sauce. I mean, you already played Quinnen Williams. There's so many people you got to pay. I don't think the Jets. I think the Jets right now, where they're at right now, they're comfortable with like keeping the first round pick, keeping the 10th overall pick, getting a franchise tackle for the future, or maybe a wide receiver, whatever they want, and then having those 5 years be completely cheap rather than trade for somebody in Brandon Ayuk. Hope that you win a Super Bowl in a AFC conference with freaking Patrick Mahomes, which is not an easy feat. The decks have been stacked against Patrick Mahomes multiple times, and he's come out on top.
To do it. They got the defense to do it. You just need a little more offensive talent.
Absolutely. You know what? You're definitely right about that. I just think there's a lot more that that the Jets need to cover up. I think wide receiver wise, you could get a wide receiver in a draft like this, and you can be completely okay. You said it yourself, and not have to trade for Brandon Ayuk. Still keep still keep your rookie wide receiver on a 5-year deal essentially, and you're going to be completely fine. Ayuk is a smart idea though. If they really want to go all in, that's not a terrible idea. Like I'm not saying that you're crazy for thinking that whatsoever. It's not a bad idea.
Also, the Jets outside of Aaron Rodgers and Tyron Smith are relatively a young team.
I mean, yeah, true, but we've always said this is a quarterback-driven league, and your quarterback says what your plan is. You're planning to win a Super Bowl. And, I'm not saying they don't get a quarterback to mold under Aaron Rodgers for this year and next year. I mean, Spencer Rattler. Hell, I've been a big pro bono of saying, hey, if you need another quarterback, you can look in the 7th round and get Talia Tagovailoa, the Big Ten all-yard passing yards leader, who absolutely balled out at the East-West Shrine Bowl game and can throw on a dot on the move better than just about anyone else in this draft. And the only reason he's not getting looked at is because he decided to build his own legacy at Maryland and was a late entry into the draft process because he was trying to get extended for another year of eligibility. And he's a little bit older. But I like him. I think he absolutely checks all the boxes. He's a football kind of guy. The play that sold me on Talia Tagovailoa, and sorry for the segue, was he threw on a rollout to his right, a dime, 45 yards. The wide receiver broke 2 tackles and fumbled the fucking football. Do you know who recovered the fumble? Talia Tagovailoa ran 45 yards after throwing a dot to recover a fumble and continue the drive. If that doesn't scream team player football guy, I don't know what does.
I don't know why I heard rollout and I just had PTSD of Zach Wilson's pro day, and I'm not even a Jets fan.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I was the whole time I heard rolling right, 45-yard dart. I'm like, BYU.
Yeah, I'm done hearing that stuff. I really am. I don't care what QB rolls to their right or to their left. They could roll sideways. I don't care. Okay, they got to show me a lot. Look, like a Caleb Williams, it has to be.
He played behind one of the worst offensive lines in football or in NCAA. He can't just stay in the pocket. He's got to move.
I know, absolutely, absolutely.
Man. You got to get on the move.
I'm just saying. If I don't want to hear Zach Wilson, rolling to his right, or Talia Tagovailoa rolling to his left. I don't look. Respectfully,
but you'd be okay with Aaron Rodgers, wouldn't you?
Oh well,
he rolled to his right and throw a dot. We don't ever say a goddamn thing about that. No, he can roll right all day. He's Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers terrifies me whenever he moves now. I'm going to be scared if Tyron Smith goes down for any kind of injury, write your memoirs. It's over. Okay. It's done. All right. Like this is why and I don't mean to go back to if the Jets, this is why, I'm saying you should keep the 10th overall pick and go offensive line. Essentially,
Joe Brandon Ayuk, baby.
Joe Alt. I think Joe Alt would be a home run pick. Here's my thing. Brandon Ayuk, wherever he gets traded, if he does get traded to the Jets, it'd be the sexy pick. The media would love it. They'd crown the New York Jets 1,000%. Here's the problem. With that. Once Tyron Smith goes down, those weapons are going to have Tyrod Taylor throwing him the ball in one move, one false swoop. It literally took one pressure for Aaron Rodgers to crumble. So by all means, look,
Hey, Justin,
I'm
do you
not
know if they're
against
replacing
Brent.
the turf on that field? By the way, as another.
They
I
are
don't think
not.
they are.
Not
No,
this
absolutely
season.
not. Like I just think that
They
Aaron
just
Rodgers.
got that turf last season. You think they're gonna replace it now?
In fact, they sprayed more grip, a grip juice on there to make sure everything's just a little more sticky.
Oh yeah, that's
really gonna be
help out
terrible.
for
Yeah,
sure.
the
ACLs left and
over-under
right.
is 3 knees taken this season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
from
Bro,
that
the
turf.
MetLife
I'll
turf
take
has
the
a
over.
body count, bro.
I'll take the over, bro. They need
You
to
know
start
what it
painting. They
is?
need to start painting
Yo,
tombstones on that field.
I need Ricky on that one. Put the over-under.
Yo, we honestly would. It would be so apropos to have like betting like props for injuries on MetLife Stadium. You know how embarrassing that is. If there is a betting prop on any kind, I don't care, Hard Rock Live, DraftKings, I don't care, bro. If there is a betting prop for injuries, something is wrong. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say, man. Look, Brandon, bottom line is this. Brandon Ayuk going to the Jets would be entertaining. It would be great. But I feel like the Jets should play it safe. They have a wide receiver, a solid wide receiver core when healthy anyway. The last thing they need is for their QB to go down and for, God forbid, their left tackle to go down and they don't have someone to tread back on. So, look, I'm excited to see what this draft holds, man. There's going to be a lot of like crazy stuff that goes down in this draft. And one of the teams that's going to be very, very, active in this draft, I would imagine, is the New England Patriots. Unfortunately for the New England Patriots, it has not been the offseason that they have envisioned. All that money for absolutely nothing. It's been very entertaining. Rob, our founder and our boss here at House Call Sports, has been very livid all over social media. It's been very entertaining to watch. Go follow him at Patriots with the 7. Look.
Rob's lives have been very entertaining.
There's that aspect. There's that aspect. And then there's the other aspect of the Dallas Cowboys, who have not had Super Bowl success in damn near 30 years. And Jerry Jones, this past offseason, before the offseason started, said he was
success, try playoff success.
Oh, well, I mean, look. I'm trying to be nice, okay? Let me be nice, for God's sake. I'll let Justin be mean. He does all that. I'm going to be the optimist here. Look,
easy down there,
the Cowboys haven't done anything. Okay, they haven't. And so my question to the panel, and I'm going to start with you, Joe. Who had the worst offseason between these two teams, these two schmucks, Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft? Who had the worst offseason, Joe? Who do you think?
You know what's funny is that in those lives we were talking about with Rob, you were on there, Sammy. You were on one with me and him. And I said,
I remember
that you all are insane. They're like, we're going to get Calvin Ridley. We're going to get Brian Burns. We're going to sign all these big names. And I'm like, the fuck we are. And they're like, why not? And I was like, we have a brand new coaching staff. We have no plan at QB. We have a GM who is literally like, hey, if you do really good in the draft, the job's yours. But if you suck, we're going to be looking for somebody else. Does that sound like somewhere you want to go play as a free agent? Absolutely the fuck not. And then add in the fact that it snows from like October till fucking March, and then the taxes are like 13% fucking. Absolutely
Boston
not.
Sucks. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, like why would you want to go there with all of that turmoil and not knowing, no matter how much money they threw at you, especially they're like, oh, we're going to get some of these young wide receivers. Why would they want to go there? There's no quarterback, and like we're like, oh, we can get Curtis Samuel. He's 26. Really, he's playing for his not this contract, but the contract after. Any young wide receiver, when they sign a contract in free agency, they are not playing for that contract. They are playing for the contract after. They're going to go to the place that's going to maximize their talent to the maximum extent. All right, and so I absolutely expected the Patriots to do exactly what they did. Bargain bin signings, guys who are going to be really good role players, solid core guys, and re-signing their free agents. And guess what they did? Exactly that. Antonio Gibson, I love it. He's a good receiving back, solid between the tackles, can really just do anything you want to do. Definitely a change of pace, completely different back than Ramondre Stevenson. Taki, shores at the linebacker depth, right? You got you look at it, Austin Hooper, he's not a great blocker, he's a good blocker, he's a better blocker than Mike Gesicki. They're going to do a lot of 2 tight end sets. Van Pelt's already said you win games by running the football. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to lean on their strength. Jacoby Brissett, can throw 25-ish balls a game, and you're gonna have a chance, right? KJ Osborne, it's okay, man. Like I don't understand anything about it, but it's what I expected. The Cowboys, unfortunately for them, Cowboys fans, I expected this too. Look at the last 10 years. When have you signed a free agent that wasn't a guy from your own team? You only pay your homegrown players. The Cowboys are the definition of build through the draft. They have very rarely ever signed a big name free agent. And when they do, they're 5 years past when they should have signed him for the money they signed him to. All right. Like Stephon Gilmore was probably the closest thing to a good outside signing they had. And they paid him pennies essentially. And he played okay corner football. Okay. That's what Dallas does. It's what they've been doing. Why? Like we're sitting here acting like this is a giant fucking surprise. Everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe that these two teams didn't do anything. And are we really? The history proves that they don't do anything in free agency. The Patriots are a dysfunctional organization right now, which is crazy after 20 some odd years of excellence that you literally swung so far to the other side of the spectrum that I'm pretty sure they all have whiplash. Like everyone in that building is like probably in a neck brace for how fast they went from good to bad or great to bad, essentially. So don't be surprised. And everyone's like, oh, they're not going to trade back. Why wouldn't they? You look at that roster. What do they need? Everything. You have 7 picks in this draft. You have 7 picks. What do you mean you don't want to trade back? Oh, I want to get a quarterback at 3. To do what? To ruin him? To stunt his growth? To waste a year? Like, what are we talking about here, man?
That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Gage?
Oh, yeah. Of course it does. Of course it does. Because bad teams do bad things.
Welcome to poverty.
They make bad decisions.
Welcome.
And when you ask me who had the worst offseason, although I expected both of it, you know what the Cowboys were last year? In the playoffs.
Getting their asses whooped.
Pretty sure they won their division.
Getting their asses whooped.
Hey, they may have got their ass whooped, but you know what the Patriots were doing? They knew they were making the fucking playoffs about 5 weeks before the playoffs started.
That's true.
So, I mean, let's not sit here and get it twisted. Who had the worst team? If you got what you expected from both teams, the worst team had the worst offseason.
That's actually crazy to think about. Hey, look. I'm going to put this lightly. Every Patriots fan and Cowboys fan, y'all are cooked. Okay, all of you. All right, every single one of your teams in your division got better. All right, even my Miami Dolphins, who lost literally everybody and then gained like half of it back, and we're still probably going to be up better than the Patriots, which is very, very bold.
4 games better. Say. At least 4 games better.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. Look, quite frankly, I'm going to say this. I knew things were going to go wrong when Calvin Ridley signed and decided to go to Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
And when he went to Tennessee, I'm like, this could be, look, they still got Curtis Samuel, right? Still got Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel goes to a division rival. Mike Williams, no, he goes to another division rival. I'm not saying any of those receivers would have been game changers. I'm not saying those receivers would have, lightened, any kind of mood that any Patriots fan that lives in Boston and has to endure snow for half of the year. I'm not trying to lighten your mood. I'm going to tell you like it is. You're going to be a poverty franchise for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a very long time before you get back into relevancy. And unfortunately for every single Patriots fan in so-called Title Town, strip it away. It's going to be poverty town. Like, I don't know. Like, it's going to be poverty town. Like, it's not going to be good. Now, you're going to endure what us Dolphins fans, the Jets fans had to endure, and even the Bills fans had to endure for 20 plus years. So I wish I could say I feel bad. I partially do. On the other hand, I really don't. Who I think had the worst offseason? Look, at the very least, the Patriots tried to do something and compensated out a wide receiver. Let me explain. The only signing that the Cowboys did of significance was sign a long snapper.
Yeah, that's a critical football position.
I don't care how bad you think your offseason was. If your only significant signing was signing a long snapper, you failed. Okay, you did. And quite frankly, I know you don't have any cap space. I'm very aware. Look, I'm very aware. Then if that's the case, I don't want you at the beginning of the offseason telling me that you're going all in. Don't tell me that stuff, because I will keep receipts. Justin keeps receipts. Gage certainly keeps receipts. Everybody in this chat keeps receipts, okay? So the Cowboys lost. They 1,000% did. And they're going to be losers and now we know come during the season, when they are mediocre or they're good in the regular season and they suck in the playoffs, we're not going to be shocked. We're not going to be surprised. No one is. Finally, they're not going to make a move that's going to fool some of these people. Okay? It's not going to fool anybody anymore. The Cowboys are going to be what they've always been. Great in the regular season. They're going to go to the playoffs, and it's not going to work out. Okay? Because Dak Prescott, love him to death. He doesn't get it done. So, look, the Patriots had a bad offseason. I understand that. And I definitely think that there's a lot to be desired. The Cowboys did nothing. Like, actually did nothing. At the very least, the Patriots brought the pieces of a 4-win team, granted.
Yeah, I was going to say
at the very least, they secured Onwenu, who is a great offensive lineman for them.
KJ Osborne, I think, is solid. Trent Brown and at the offensive tackle position per PFF grade.
Oh, yeah. Look. All I'm saying is you made moves. The Cowboys, they didn't. Justin, with that said, I'm going to go off to you. I know you've been waiting. I know you've been praying for times like this. And I'm going to go to you. Take it away.
So, to answer the question of who had the worst offseason, it was the Patriots. But I never miss an opportunity to talk shit about an NFC East team. So let's open up the books that is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we talked about why would a free agent want to go to New England? Well, why wouldn't they want to come to Dallas? It's a major media market. There's no state tax. You get primetime games damn near half the season. Oh, wait. Because you got Jerry Jones and y'all are known to be choke artists. But let's definitely talk about what actually has gone wrong with Dallas. Dallas has had the issue now, while they are a team that is very good at drafting and developing players, I will always give them that credit. They are now going through the problem that I project the Eagles will be going through in the next 2 or 3 years, which is you have this talent here and you have so many talented players that you do have to pay at some point. And guess what? That point has now come in Dallas. Let me show you all the pieces that they are missing now with everything that has went on in this free agency period. You need a cornerback. You need a safety. You need a running back. You need not one, but 2 receivers. You need your left tackle. Your middle linebacker just retired. Your left guard, you got to pay after this season. Oh, yeah, by the way, your quarterback, you have to pay this season, after this season as well, or this season. All of those positions. And you know what's the only thing Cowboys fans can say if you look at over the cap? Well, they got $100 million in cap space projected for next year. Half of that has to go to your quarterback if you're going to be re-signing Dak Prescott.
Hot take, they shouldn't.
Hot take, they really shouldn't.
Not hot.
They really shouldn't at all.
They really shouldn't.
Lukewarm.
Ice
cold take, they shouldn't.
The Cowboys didn't lose. What is this, Justin? Come on.
What? Oh, you really want me to bring up all the shit that they choked? That they lost to literally the youngest team in the NFL that went into the playoffs?
Yes,
they got
absolutely, yes.
Asses whooped by Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Yes, that happened. And you know what's going to happen now? They are going to finish third again. I'm going to say this about the Cowboys. With all the shit that is going wrong, I swear to God, they are not winning this division at all. I have the Eagles winning it because, quote unquote, super team bullshit, whatever the fuck. I do have them finishing third in the division. And you know why? Because I don't have my Giants finishing second, first. I think they may end up being last because I don't trust that team at all. The fact that the Washington Commanders had a better offseason than y'all, they are going to finish second in the league, and every team is going to whoop the Cowboys at least once this season.
I mean, to be fair, the Commanders had a very good offseason.
They did have a good offseason. They have established a culture to the very least. Look,
Yeah.
Justin, I know that you relieved yourself very, very, very well there. I mean, my goodness, was that a sigh of relief? My goodness, my
That
God,
was a Ric
So much
Flair, that was a Ric Flair.
the hate is crazy.
I'm still have all that pent up frustration for spending $300 to go to Jersey to watch the Cowboys whoop the Giants in Week 1.
I spent
That's true.
quite a bit of
That's
money
true.
to watch to go to Dallas to watch the Cowboys beat the ever living dog shit out of my Patriots as well. So
Oh yeah, I
You
saw
should have
that. That was
expected
great.
one.
yeah, I saw it too. It was
Yeah, I didn't spend
Hey,
money to go see.
I was
Dallas
actually,
beat the shit out of the Jets.
I spoke to some Patriots fans that day, and I was giving them false hope because I knew they were going to get blown out. Like, yeah, you guys have a chance. Oh yeah, Ramondre Stevenson might have a sleeper good game. Oh, here comes Ezekiel Elliott, and then they got blown out, and they had nothing to say. But
Dog
Gage,
walk.
go ahead. Gage, I know Gage. You know a thing or two about poverty because you are a Jets fan. So I want you to break it down to the Patriots fans exactly what they're going to deal with. And while you're at it, go ahead and tell me who had a worse offseason between the Cowboys and Patriots.
I mean, I'm glad Joe brought it up because it's really where I was thinking about too. The Cowboys were just a better team, and they had way less to like really need to fill. Yes, things Justin hit it on the head. They have a lot of things going wrong in Dallas, especially the Dalton Schultz report that came out a couple weeks ago. How about that facility is like a zoo of people coming in and out? Jerry Jones is not doing any favors for that team, especially with reports coming like, who wants to deal with that? Who as a professional athlete wants to be treated like a zoo animal while they're at work? No. And also they have no money to sign people. So
None.
money, if the money ain't talking, no one walking for Jerry Jones.
Oh, not to mention, I forgot one of these things. You have to pay Micah Parsons too,
Ooh.
and that's
Yes,
going to cost
you
a
do.
pretty penny.
And shit, you probably have to pay Trayvon Diggs too at some point.
No, they extended him last season.
Oh,
Nice.
see, no money being taken up already. Patriots, yes, they did more than the Cowboys, but they had to do more to even be a competitive team. I say competitive lightly. So Joe and his super OCD analytical brain over there had to break down every single stat, yard, every penny that the Patriots had going into this to devise a way where he can avoid poverty. And even that, he knows, no, we're still in poverty, no matter what we do.
I mean, I have a way out. No one wants to hear it.
No,
Everyone tells me I'm crazy when I say it.
In any way.
No. There is no out here. You guys are cooked. Okay,
There's
you're done.
no out.
It's okay.
No.
No,
you're
you guys
there
just don't
is no
want us
out.
to have an out. The Dolphins fan and the Jets fan don't want us to have an out. There's an out.
I don't.
You all just don't want it to happen because it means trading back. And you're like, I've lived through so many drafts where we traded back. I don't want to fucking do it anymore. Get over it. You need to. You need to turn 7 picks into
okay with
11
trading
picks.
back. I'm always a big
4 of them
yeah,
need to be
you
wide
guys-
receivers.
Hey, go ahead, trade back. Go ahead and get like JJ McCarthy. I'm gonna be shaking
God,
in my
no.
boots. My goodness,
not do
like.
I-
And let's be honest.
Actually,
Let's
hey,
be
back. Aim
honest,
at
the
JJ and Bo Nix.
The Patriots are going to try to build through the draft because they whiffed on free agency. They're still an
Oh.
awful team.
Hard to whiff when you
Oh,
don't.
you
They
signed the
didn't whiff on
players
free
back?
agency. They sat there and just watched them all go by.
Yeah.
Didn't swing the bat once.
We're not looking. You signed all your players back. Cool.
Hard to whiff when you
were
don't try.
You were a 4-win team. You're a 4-win team. Who cares if you signed the same team back?
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
trade back, you're also like you mean to tell me? Look, for the record, I don't trust you Patriots one bit.
I
to
also
develop
don't trust
any
the
kind
GM
of
in New
offensive
England at
talent.
all.
I know it's a new regime. I know it's a new regime. I don't trust you guys to develop any kind of offensive talent without a good QB. One, and then two, Bill Belichick's not there, so you're not gonna get this sneaky corner from UMass that's all of a sudden going to be an all-pro for 2 years and then go to the Washington Commanders and become a bum. Okay, that's not going to happen. All right, it's not. Look,
You're
it's
right.
gonna
We'll get the corner out of Toledo.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
No. All I'm saying
Okay.
is,
Because you guys definitely need corner.
Yeah,
you have a new
we
regime
definitely
in New
use one.
England that no one wants to go to anymore.
No one wanted to go to 3 years ago.
I don't know if your GM could actually draft. Don't know.
We're gonna
And the
find
worst
out.
don't
It's
part
an
even-
is-
interview.
We don't
It's an
even know
interview
who the
process. I already said it's an
GM is.
interview process. We're gonna find out.
Who's the GM? Who is the
Also,
GM?
The worst part is Joe will attest to this. It's also a problem in New York with Woody Johnson. Robert Kraft is going to have a lot of swing and a lot to say during that draft process.
There's rumors that they will not that Robert Kraft will not allow them to trade out of 3. That is the rumors coming out of New England right now, is that there is no way Robert Kraft lets them trade the number 3 overall pick.
I
They are
believe
locked
it.
in.
He's
They are
too
locked in.
used.
I'm going to
He's
tell
too
you.
used to trying to win. He's too used to being good,
Yep.
and now he's just not going to accept that they aren't going to be good for another 10, 15 years at minimum.
I don't know about 10, 15
No,
years. I don't know.
I'm
about
going to tell you.
I think
I'm
10's
going to tell you,
reasonable.
the Patriots need whatever they decide to do, whether they're going to stick with 3, whether they're going to trade back. Y'all need to hit on this draft. You know why? Because if y'all don't, then all the talk in the media is going to be, it wasn't Bill, it was the Patriots. They are the reasons why they failed. And you
I
know
hope
that's
to
what's going to be
God Bill
said.
signs on with the Peyton, the Manning cast, or gets into Fox or some shit like that, and we just get just destroyed. And he
Yeah,
gets to commentate
honestly-
on the games, and he can just be like, yeah, well, who would have saw that coming?
Yeah. Honestly, the propaganda that's been going on against Bill Belichick has been ridiculous. We're talking about one of the greatest defensive minds in all of football history, and that new
One of
documentary,
the
The Dynasty.
top 3 coaches in NFL history.
He is not just. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest coaches in sports, not just like NFL sports history. One of the greatest coaches ever, and the hit piece that was The Dynasty on Apple TV.
Oh yeah, that
was absolutely ridiculous.
That was a
And
hat
I don't
job.
want to switch gears too much on this. I'm gonna give it like a minute. Like the fact that we're here discussing everything wrong that the Patriots are doing, when now both the heads rather, Belichick and Tom Brady are gone. The fact that the franchise does not really see a light at the end of this tunnel, that's just a testament that everything we thought was Belichick's fault, everything we thought Tom's fault, was actually none of their faults. It was always Robert Kraft. And now we're going into a season where they're not sure who the GM is. They only confirmed with the head coach. They made him walk back a statement that a lot of Patriots fans wanted to hear. They haven't done anything in free agency. In the past, they haven't hit on their draft picks. What makes you think that they're going to hit on them now? It's not looking real good right now for the New England Patriots. And regardless of what you might think of what they used to be, right now the Patriots are in, as Dusty Rhodes would say, hard times. So, quite frankly, I'll put it to you like this, and this is the last thing I'll say about this. The Patriots need to find an identity as soon as possible. And it can't be that defensive identity. It can't be just a straight offensive identity. They need to find an identity that represents Boston. Like straight up. I know it's corny, but they need to find an identity quick and fast, because it has always been about Brady. It has always been about Belichick. You can't talk about the Patriots without mentioning those two names. And if they can't figure out a way to bring themselves back to relevancy, we're going to be talking about the New England Patriots like we talk about the Chicago Bulls. Rings in that particular era, and that's all we know about them for the rest of history. So it's unfortunate, but that is the road that we're treading on right now. Real quick, our last segment, it's going to be very, very quick before we go ahead and get on out of here. Justin Fields was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, there was a lot of rumors that this would happen. It's very clear the Chicago Bears are going all in on Caleb Williams. No question about it. My question for the panel is very, very simple. What does the future hold for Justin Fields? I mean, it's almost uncertain at this point.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, let's be fair. The Bears didn't exactly do many favors on the offensive line. In the 1 year where, you kind of look at what the offensive scheme looked like, he gave DJ Moore his career year. And, there's questions with his accuracy. There's questions with his decision-making. I think that, you kind of look at what they did for him offensive coordinator wise wasn't the best. You look at the sort of protection they gave him, and they really went out of their way to mess this guy up. And then the minute that things are starting to look up, hey man, next best thing's coming through. Pack your bags. I don't like the fit in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh has a lot of similar things going on with it that the Bears do. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a little bit maybe better defensive front, as long as TJ Watt's healthy. Their wide receiver cores, I think, a downgrade in comparison to what the Bears have.
Now it is, yeah.
Their running back core, Najee Harris and is okay. I mean, he's going to sit behind Russell Wilson. Maybe we see him play a game or two this year, depending on how Russ looks in that offense. I don't think Russ is going to look all that great. So maybe they play around, let him play a few games. But at the end of the day, I think Justin Fields is going to find himself a new home outside of Pittsburgh next year. Yeah. I don't see him re-signing a contract there. I think he wants to go someplace where he's actually got a shot. And you think about, we were talking, and again, I'm going to bring it up again. You were talking about how young the Jets are, except for at the quarterback position.
I've been on this train for a while.
Aaron Rodgers comes in, plays next year. Maybe they trade for Ayuk, maybe they don't. Maybe they get a wide receiver, maybe they don't. Whatever happens, happens. Even if he plays the year after, I would still sign Justin Fields to develop under Aaron Rodgers. As a Jets fan, if that was me, I would sign him to develop under Aaron Rodgers because you have the cap space, you have the youth, you have the talent for sure. We already know he's a significantly better quarterback than Zach Wilson will ever be, in my opinion. You plug him in, you let him sit, you let him learn the offense. Aaron rides into the sunset, and Justin Fields gets a chance to learn behind one of the best quarterbacks of the last 15, 20 years. That makes sense to me. There's not a lot of other places I see him going, and we were talking about it too. What would be the chances that the Cowboys don't re-sign Dak and make a solid push for Justin?
That's 1,000% what might happen
and that's a possibility as well.
Because of what the youth that Justin Fields has, and then Jerry Jones would 1,000% make that move because it's the move that a lot of people in Dallas would want, and his circle would 1,000% say yes to that. So a move for Justin Fields, moving off of him immediately to go, moving off Dak and get cheap with Justin Fields. I mean, that's a deal that a lot of teams, not just the Cowboys, a lot of teams would take in. And I want to go ahead and say this about Justin Fields before I kick it out to you two. Justin Fields hasn't proven anything. Let's make that very clear. But Justin Fields has not. It's not. That's not to say that Justin Fields can't prove it. And I think that's where the media is being a little bit dishonest. Is that he can't at all. He hasn't been given the chance to. And the Bears failed him. Let's put it very simply. They failed him until the very last parts of the season where they were starting to really turn it around. And by that point, it was too late. Now, Justin Fields hasn't helped his own situation by any means. I don't want to go ahead and say that. The combination of injuries and quarterback play have been questionable, but the Bears never put him in a position to succeed. So that's why if you're a team and you need a quarterback, there is no point, in my opinion, in not giving Justin Fields a chance if we're going to give Sam Darnold another chance. Right. That's just my opinion. I don't think if we're going to give quarterbacks like Sam Darnold a chance, the Broncos right now do not have a single quarterback on their roster that's worth starting. And they didn't even want to give out their 6th-round pick for Justin Fields. It's almost ridiculous at this point. I'm not saying that Justin Fields can be a superstar, but can he be a starter? If we don't think he can be a starter, I feel like we're doing it wrong right now.
Perfect segue. There are not 31 quarterbacks in the NFL better than Justin Fields.
I agree.
There's not.
I agree.
Jacoby Brissett starting. Sam Darnold's starting.
Daniel Jones is starting.
Jacoby Brissett is starting.
Right,
so many QBs.
There's no one. There's Gardner Minshew is starting. There's no one in Denver starting. It's ridiculous at this point for what they were asking for Justin Fields that no one took that.
First off, I'm offended by that. Benny the Bronco will be starting for Denver.
I mean, you look at the Vikings. No one's starting in Minnesota.
I mean,
I don't
they're
know
gonna,
how Justin Fields
that's
is
the
not
thing.
a
Sam
Viking
Darnold's
anymore.
probably going to
I
start.
don't understand it. I don't understand it.
It's ridiculous. It's
I saw
ridiculous. And
a perfect graphic the other day, and Joe and Sammy both hit it. The disservice he was shown in Chicago was egregious. He fell to 11 in that draft, and usually only like quarterbacks that get drafted high go to bad teams, and you expect that because you're in the middle of a rebuild. You expect that. He went to a mediocre team with no offensive line, no head coach or staff whatsoever after the Mitch Trubisky debacle that was.
I mean,
And then
don't forget, the Bears didn't just select him at 11. They traded up and sent 4 picks to the Giants to get him.
Yep. Keep going, Gage.
And no offensive line, no offensive weapons whatsoever, a mediocre defense. They were destined to be bad for at least his entire rookie contract. It's a rebuild. And you know what his rewards for going through all that rebuild was? When that team is finally on paper looking like a very good team that could actually do something in this league. Hey, sorry. Caleb Williams is coming up. We have no one to pick. Good luck elsewhere. Thanks for your service through his 5 years of shit with 3 head coaches, 3 offensive coordinators, and a total of about 15 wins. Thanks for your time. Go enjoy life.
That's why it's all going to collapse on Chicago. And I'm going to be waiting right here.
I love what Chicago's doing with draft picks and how Ryan
Poles. Yeah, Chicago's playing it all right.
Like, I love what Ryan Poles is doing. I really do.
Yeah.
But I was a big proponent of, like, Justin Fields has given Chicago 5 years of taking a lot of shit and taking a lot of a brunt of it because he is the quarterback and what he was coming out of Ohio State. He got 0 chance with a good team to, like, prove, like, no, I can't be your guy. Like, I will be your guy. And the allure of Caleb Williams, he's like, good luck elsewhere. And I think Justin Fields should be a starter somewhere. It's not even a debate.
Yeah,
it's going to work out in Pittsburgh. It's going to work out in Pittsburgh.
I would hate it.
I don't know, man.
I'm not a big Pittsburgh guy. But I think Russ collapses, and I think Justin Fields steps in, and I think Justin Fields wins. If, let's say, he plays 6 games, he wins 5 of those 6, and Steelers get to the playoffs because it's Mike Tomlin. And now they're looking at like, hey, Justin Fields, turns out is that guy. And then he gets then he gets to prove it like 1 or 2 year deal with Pittsburgh.
That's not how it's going to work. I'm going to tell you how it's going to work. I'm going to play best case scenario. Let's say that happens. Russ plays horribly. Justin Fields wins 5 games. But you know what? We are going way too far ahead because in May, there is a deadline for 5th-year options. 5th-year option for Justin Fields is only going to be $25 million. Theoretically speaking, if Pittsburgh wants, they can pick up that 5th-year option. $25 million for a quarterback, nothing. They'll have him play behind Russ. Let's say Russ plays like trash. Let's say Justin comes in. Let's say he wins 5 out of 6 games. Well, next year he's playing on that 5th-year option for $25 million. Then if they really want, they can do a franchise tag on him for like 30-something million. Then they don't have to sign him and have 2 years of seeing how he is in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, if he plays well, is going to embrace him in a way, and I mean the Steelers organization, that Chicago never did.
I mean, we'll find out in just a little over a month. They only have till May 2nd to pick it up.
Exactly. So,
Justin, you do a very good job with the money side of how things are working out going forward. And it's going to be very interesting. I think they will. I kind of hope they do because he deserves to go into a good situation and get some time there, even if it's sitting behind Russ for a year at worst case.
Right. And the last thing I guess I'll say is that like not only just Justin, I don't want to say that Chicago didn't do right by him at the end of the day, because they did. They traded him to the location that he wanted to go. So Chicago, at the end of the day, they did right by him. And they're in a good position. They're probably the best situation that a number 1 overall pick is going to be in a very long time, since, like, I don't even remember. So quite frankly, we cannot knock the Bears for making this move happen. We can only knock the Bears for what they did to Justin Fields prior to this move happening. So the truth is, I'm more upset at the Bears organization the last 3 years for how they treated Justin Fields. I'm not upset at the Bears now, because they're doing right by Justin Fields, and they're doing the right by what their situation is going to be. Getting Keenan Allen, they have DJ Moore. They're going to have a strong running back room as well. Their offensive line is going to be solid, and presumably their defense is about to be very good as well. So what they did was set themselves up to start winning games. How they did it, a lot of people are going to be rooting against the Chicago Bears after what they did to Justin Fields. I really hope, if we do get Pittsburgh versus Chicago down the line, that Justin Fields is the starting quarterback. Well, that's going to do it here for the Gridiron segment here at House Call Sports. It has been a pleasure. And with that being said, peace out, boys.